Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. I'm not a big fan of pirate games, or really pirates in general, but I do like party games and I do like games with great artwork, and that's what attracted me to Dread Curse from Smirk and Dagger Games. This is a game all about trying to divide the treasure on a pirate ship. Each round, each player is going to take a different role. It might be the captain, it might be the first mate, it might be a pilot, it might be the cook or the cabin boy, and you are going to try to use the special ability of that role to take as much treasure as possible, sometimes just from the stack of treasure that's available to all pirates, sometimes from other pirates. And there's special ability cards you can use as well to tilt the odds in your favor, and when you're ready to run and take your money and run, you take your money and run, but then you're not going to have a chance to get any more money for the rest of the game. Let's go ahead and take a brief look at how the game is played, then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. Okay, I'm going to give you a very brief overview of Dread Curse. This is a game for 3 to 8 players. I would never really recommend playing with 3 or 8 players, though. Somewhere in the middle is probably the best. This is all about being a pirate crew and trying to get as much gold as possible. The winner at the end of the game is going to be the pirate who has the most gold, but obviously that is easier said than done. Now, I've already done a bit of the setup here. Let's assume this is a 6-player game. How this is going to work, you have a whole sack of coins here. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to take a number of those coins equal to all the players minus 1, and then to those coins you're going to add this token, which is the black spot. There's actually 2 black spots in the game, but one of them is going to be mixed in with the rest of the other coins. The other one is for sure going to go to someone at the beginning, shuffled all together with all those other coins that you took out at random, the other coins being anywhere from coins from values of 1 to 5, or the 1 lead slug token, which is a -5. Actually, no, that one has to start in the bag, but all the other ones could be anywhere from a 1 to 5. Shuffle those up, deal them out. Each player reveals them to show who has the black spot, then puts them face down. The player who had the black spot gets the captain card. Everyone else gets a random card, or the captain shuffles them up and deals all the roll cards out to the other players at random. Then you start the game. Alright, so the best way to explain the game is just to go through how a typical round is going to work. Now, in every round except for the first, you would actually have an all-hands-on-deck part at the beginning of the round. The setup sort of takes care of that one for the first round, but this would be to decide who the captain is going to be and who's going to get the other roles. The captain is nominally the best round, or the best role in the game, although not always, so you want to be the captain, but in order to do that, you need to bid. So everyone's going to take 2 of the coins from their stash face down, put them forward. When everyone is selected, you flip them all over, revealing them to all the other players, which could be a bad thing. You're giving them information as to what your coins are. But then whoever has the most coins gets whatever coins that they bid is going to be able to take the captain role. Then they're going to take their coins, put them back face down in front of them. Then everyone else in descending order of the most coins bid is going to be able to take another role from the center of the table. So you're not actually giving up your coins, you're just showing them to the other players, which is vital information, and now they may want to steal those coins from you on a future turn. And once everyone has their different roles selected, then it's time to get on to the main part of the game, and that starts with drawing coins from the bag. So everyone's got a special ability on their crew card that's going to tell them how many coins they draw from the bag, and you must draw that many coins. And I say you must, you're like, well, why would you never want to draw coins? Well, the reason is there is another black spot in this bag, like I said before, and there's the metal slug, which is -5 points. But of course, you need to draw from the bag, because you need, at the beginning of the game, you need to get enough coins. But even if you think you might have enough coins, you still need to draw from the bag and hope that you don't get the black spot, or hope that if you do, you're able to give it away to someone else, or someone else accidentally steals it from you. After you get done using your draw ability, then it's time to steal. Now, stealing is simply stealing from a player from your left to your right. You see the coins that are in front of them, and you just take one of them and shove it over into your own stash. But if you always have the opportunity to steal from the captain as well, and that's because the captain typically has more gold tokens in front of him than anybody else. But of course, you know that the captain starts off with the black spot at the beginning of the game, or whoever was a captain at some point. So after the first round, that might change around. You're not going to be captain necessarily anymore, but you need to keep track of where that black spot is. So it's risky to steal from a certain player, but you do need to steal something. And most players have a special ability that modifies how they're going to steal. After that, you have the opportunity to pay Jacques the Monkey. Now, this right here is Jacques the Monkey, and he's a happy fellow, but he's actually going to, after the seal phase, you can actually pay a coin that is 2 or higher. It can't be like 2 ones, but you can pay him a coin that's 2 or higher in order to get a Pirate's Code card. Now, Pirate's Codes cards, which sounds tough to say, everyone's going to start with 3 of them, and that's the way that you're going to get more during the course of the game. These are kind of like Screw You cards. They're just special ability cards, or they can protect you from Screw You cards. Walk the Plank actually removes one of the crew assignments from the game until the end of the all hands on deck phase. Shanghai, after you win the captaincy, you get to hand out the other crew assignments as you see fit. I'm just showing you a few examples of these. Katya, you get to cancel a pirate's steal for the round. And I'll show you one more. Plunder the monkey's gold. Instead of the normal draw, you take half the monkey's coins rounded down. That would be the coins that people have been paying to Jacques in order to get more cards. You get to take those instead. After that, after you've drawn, you've stolen, you've decided to pay Jacques or not, and decided to use your cards or not, then comes the most important part of the game, the most important decision of the game. Do you cut or do you run? Cutting and running means that you are essentially taking yourself out of the game because you feel that you have enough coins in front of you to win the game if the game were to end this second. If you decide to cut and run, you can no longer have any impact on the game whatsoever. And how the cutting and running works is that everyone's going to take, even if you decide not to cut and run, everyone takes a coin from their stash. And by the way, you can't cut and run if you have the black spot. You lose anyways, so even unless you just want to quit the game, but even then you can't do it. Everyone takes a coin in their hand and then reveals their hand simultaneously. If the coin is face down in your palm, then you're in it. You stay in the game. You have not cut and run. If the coin was face up, it would have to be a coin, then you have decided to vacate. You have cut and run. You are out. All you do at that point is count your winnings, and you do not tell anyone else about it, and you watch the rest of the players play until its completion. And the game ends, I'm sorry, let me get that back in focus. The game ends when either the bag of coins runs out, or there is only 1 player left in the game, or if there's 2 players left in the game and both of them have the black spot, at that point the game ends. If there's only 1 player left in the game because the other player got the black spot, then or everyone else cut and run, I should say, then you have 1 more turn to optionally draw. You can, if you want, have 1 more turn to draw another token from the bag and hope that you don't get the black spot, just to make sure, just to try and get more gold before the end of the game. But at that point, the game ends no matter what. So let's go back and take a look at some of the all of the roll cards that are in the game one by one, since that's the most important part of the game, really, besides the cutting and running part. So we'll just focus in there. First, you have the captain. He gets to draw 2, 3, or 4 times from the bag. During the steal phase, he must steal an additional coin. The second coin doesn't have to be from the same pirate. Then you have the first mate. The first mate draws 1 less than the captain. So whatever the captain drew, he draws 1 less. And during the steal phase, you may give a coin to an active player instead of stealing one. So this is one way to get rid of a black spot, is to vie for the first mate status. Let's do these in order, actually. So you have the pilot, which is one of the coolest artwork pieces in the game. You draw 3, but you only have to keep 2, which is another way you can hope to not get the black spot or the lead slug. During the steal phase, you may look at up to 2 coins before deciding which coins to steal. Then we go to the bosun. The bosun must draw 2. During the steal phase, you may draw a Pirate's Code card instead of stealing a coin without having to pay that stupid monkey. Then you have the gunner. The gunner gets to draw 1 or 2. All hands on deck phase, if I love the pirate talk that they forcefully make you use. If ye only draw 1, swap 1 of your face-up coins next all hands on deck for any other face-up coin. And then we have the cook. The cook draws 2 and only keeps 1. During the steal phase, after stealing, you may exchange 1 coin from your stash with a new one from the bag. And then we go to the lookout. The lookout says draw 1. During the steal phase, you cannot be given a coin. You cannot be given a coin, or during any phase, cannot have Pirate's Code cards played directly upon ye. And then finally, we have the cabin boy. The cabin boy says you steal a coin from the captain instead of drawing one. And from any phase, you cannot be stolen from. So that's sort of your consolation prize for having the weakest roll. And that is really the game. I'm sure I skipped over some tiny parts, but essentially you're just going through the different phases, drawing, stealing, using cards against the other players, possibly paying off the monkey, and deciding when to cut and run and when to stay in and try to get more gold. That is Dread Curse. Let's get to my final thoughts. Oh, sorry, one last thing, because I don't know if I made it explicitly clear. When you're taking your turns, like actually going through the drawing and the sealing and all that, you go in order of rank. So it always starts with the captain, which I think I made clear, but I didn't make it clear that you go in order from there. So ranks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's all. Thank you. All right, I said in my intro that I'm not a big fan of pirates, so the theme here doesn't work that well on me, but I could see a group that was into pirates really getting into it because the game is light enough and has enough flavor on it through the cards, and they even have a pirate speak, which is kind of annoying on a lot of the cards. So you can either take it or leave it, I think. If you're not that into pirates, I think it's fine because it's very light and it's not in your face all the time. But you could get into it really well because you're stealing and you're using these pirate codes cards and saying little pirate things like, I steal your coins. Was that what pirates say? I don't know. And all these different things. So your mileage might vary. You're going to get the most out of it or just not at all. And that's fine. The game doesn't need to have a strong theme because it's pretty interactive between all the other players. Do whatever you want as far as the theme goes. As far as the components, I love the artwork. I said that too in the intro, and I'll say it again. Really, really great artwork. I wish that this artist would do art for a lot of my favorite games, really. Any game that has, I want art that's like kind of serious but looks really, really good. The graphic design is good. The tokens are good. The box is even good, so I can't complain about anything component-wise. As far as the gameplay, I love the variable player powers. Now, a lot of people compare this game to Citadels because that has variable powers as well and different role cards that you take. But it's a little bit drier, it's a little longer, I think, on average. I only played that game once, Citadels, but I played Dread Curse several times, so I can't really compare them that well. And it's been a while since I played Citadels, but that one felt a little drier, felt much more methodical, and a little more strategic than this one. Just a tiny bit heavier, although Citadels is pretty light. Dread Curse is really light, but it does have that aspect of getting different player roles, in this case the crew assignments, and different ranks and different special abilities. And that's one of the best things about the game. I would say it is the best part about the game, having different player powers and vying. Maybe I should clarify and say that trying to get those powers and how you go about getting them is the best part. Because there's the all hands on deck phase is bidding. Now, I don't normally like bidding in games, but it works really well here because the coins that you bid, the 2 coins that you put face up in front of you during the bidding phase after everyone's selected, you don't lose them, you're just giving people information. Now, sometimes that can be as good as losing them, because if you bid high, either to get the captain or to get first pick of whatever's left, then you might reveal like a 5 and a 4, and people are like, oh, well, I'd like to steal from you next round. That's what you're giving up in order to get a good bidding placement, but at least you don't lose them. So it's not so bad. And there's things you can do to prevent yourself from being stolen from. So bidding here, not so bad. And that whole aspect of the captain is really good for a certain amount of time, and then not so good at the end. Not necessarily because he becomes bad, although you might not want to draw as much as he can draw, but because you may want the powers of the other characters much, much more. Especially the first mate and the pilot. The first mate being able to get rid of one of your tokens, your coins in front of you, which could be the black spot or could be the lead slug, and that's great. People are going to be really fighting frantically to get that near the end. But also the pilot being able to selectively filter what tokens she takes. It sounds bad at first. Oh, I draw 3, but I got to get rid of one. Yeah, but you might be getting rid of the black slug or the iron slug or lead slug in the black spot. So that whole back and forth of deciding which ones you want to get, vying for control of it, trying to get the best pick possible, or making the best of whatever you've got, that is definitely the best and most interesting part about the game. I am not a fan of the Pirates Codes cards. I mean, I understand why they're there. I think if you took them out completely, maybe the game would be a little less interesting, maybe not interesting enough. But I don't like the screwage factor of it. It's just like, I take that, like, aha, I take a coin, and now I get some monkey coins, and I don't like it. It's just weird. It's more things to keep track of. The game could be even simpler and shorter, which I'll get back to in a second, without them. The jock aspect is cool, giving coins to the monkey to get more of them, but I don't know. Maybe that should have been implemented different. Maybe just give the other players, the crew assignment cards, more powers rather than have the Pirates Codes cards in play if you wanted to add more variety and depth to the game. I don't know. They're not a huge deal. They're not a deal breaker for me in this game, but I just don't personally like them. And then you have let's talk about the push your luck aspect. That whole thing of stealing cards, stealing coins from other players, or being forced to draw from the bag, but trying not to take the black spot in the lead slug. That's interesting too, because you may know that one of the players has the black slug, but you also know they got some 5s and 4s. And sometimes you're very limited in who you can steal from. You can always steal from the captain, but didn't that person once have the black slug or the lead slug at some point? But they have so many coins now, so what are the odds that I'm going to get that one? That's a really cool aspect of the game too, and I dig that. And then it all comes down to the cutting and running. And this is the part that I have the most mixed feelings about. The cutting and running is essentially the whole pivot point of the game. If the player powers are the main gameplay aspect, the cutting and running is like the climax of the game. I mean, everything rests on that whole facet of the game. You decide at some point that you've done enough and you're leaving. And you may not win, but you know that if you stay in too much longer, people are just going to steal your coins from you anyways. You have a lot of 5s, you have a lot of 4s, you don't have the black spot yet, you don't even have the lead slug. You might as well leave. Why not? And that may be a sound strategy, but if you leave, you are out. You're just out. There's no interaction you can have with the players. You can talk to them, I guess, but you can't say, well, how many coins do you have? You can't sort of egg them on. There's no bluffing. There's no role for you to take after you're out of the game. You're just out and you're sitting there. But the game drags on long enough after people leave that the first couple of people that leave, depending on how many players you have, can literally go start another game. In fact, that has happened in each time that we've played this, and that situation has popped up. Because we played the game with no fewer than 5 players each time. I think we actually played with 5, 6, 7 players. We haven't played with less than 5. We didn't play with the maximum of 8. And I wouldn't recommend playing with 8 or less than that, because the less players that you have, the less interesting the game is as a whole. The more players you have, the game gets much, much longer. Now you might say, oh, but the game ends when you're drawing coins from the bag, but you still have everyone using their Pirates Codes cards, deliberating, deciding which roles they want to take, how much they want to bid. The game just gets progressively longer. And I'm not saying like uber long, but when we played a 7-player game, it was up to 90 minutes pushing 2 hours, which is way too long for this game. And I know that some people are going to be screaming like, well, if it's that long, you were playing it wrong. But I don't think so. I think that we play with an okay group of people who are going pretty quickly, but the game sort of lends itself to that. Especially if you're getting into the role playing, it's going to be even longer. Which is fine. I don't mind a long game. But again, people are going to be cutting and running at a fairly early point and are just going to be sitting there doing nothing. And that's just a weird, awkward, anticlimactic way to end the game. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if you have a set number of rounds, no matter what, not waiting until the last player left standing, or not waiting until everyone is left as black spots, or that the coins run out of the bag, but maybe that eliminates some of the tension if you have a set number of rounds. I don't know, but it's definitely a weird anticlimactic way to end the game, and I wish that something there was different, because it's my one major sticking point about it. Other than that, it's a solid, interesting, fun game. It just ends very weirdly. I wish it wasn't like that, but if you're into Pirates, if you like Citadels, but you want something a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit more interesting, more push your lucky, if that's a phrase, then you should still at least try it out. Maybe my problems with it won't be as bad to you. In other words, your mileage may vary. That is Dread Curse from Smirk and Dagger. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.